Hello everyone. Sorry for the lateness of this video. The coronavirus has me taking care of my nieces and I really just don't know how this assignment escaped me. But today we're going to be going over what the scenario would be with two pilots going cross country and what options they would have available through the G1000 and just in general to obtain weather information in that scenario. The first thing I think of is just because, again, two pilots is crew resource management, regardless of the G1000 and what other resources you have available to you. That should always be something that's taken full advantage of. You have two fully trained pilots. You don't want to both be distracted or fiddling with something that is unnecessary, depending on your situation. So first thing I would do is, again, if I'm the pilot in command and flying, I would have my co-pilot or second look up the information I'm wanting and just request, hey, can you get MEDAR data for this airport, et cetera, et cetera. Just kind of communicate, let him know, I've got controls. He can look it up. But there are several options that I think get neglected a lot of times in those scenarios that lead to accidents, one of which, and this is also really good for electrical and instrument failures, just if you're at altitude, just call a weather briefer, or you can call ATC directly. But we'll skip over that. Now, as far as the Garmin, there are several features available to you for weather information through the G1000 while you're in flight. The most readily available is the Vector. Basically, it just tells you which way the winds are going and the outside air temperature. That's just a quick reference that you can use to just note any changes that might be occurring in flight that maybe were unexpected, depending on what weather information you obtained while you were on the ground. Now, if you subscribe to the Weather Data Link subscription through XM Satellite, I believe, through the G1000, on the default map page, you're going to push the little FMS knob, or you're going to turn the little FMS knob until that map turns into the weather map. And at that point, you're going to have about a dozen or so features available through the G1000, depending on, again, what your subscription is and what you have. One of the things that you'll be able to do is with the zoom, with the range function, zoom in and out. Again, that's just for whatever your purposes are in the flight, however far you're going, and how much information you're needing. The first soft key that you'll see is NextRad for Next Generation Radar. When you click the NextRad soft key, it will display basically kind of like what we're used to seeing on the news, the storm front moving in with different intensities and colors. Something important to note, that when you do click the NextRad data and get that information on, the terrain coloring will disappear. So you will not have terrain range information available while you're looking at the weather, and that's simply because of the coloring. They want to have differentiation so you know that you are looking at weather or you're looking at terrain, whichever one you have available. The other options on the soft keys you'll see is lightning. Just it's going to record lightning strikes in the area. You can press just to see if again what's occurring in the airport and where you're headed. There is a SIG/AIR. It's going to show kind of the ranges of the SIGMETs and AIRMETs depending on where you're located and geographical outlines of those. There's also then, of course, the MEDAR soft key, which will show you the information for weather reporting stations, again, in your general vicinity. The one that I would probably use, if it's not anything, again, dire, it's not an emergency, I'm just trying to get additional information, would be the winds aloft. I've flown a lot of times when my winds aloft change, and I don't have quite the feel to know, okay, I need to correct this much to compensate, and I like actually doing the calculation. What I would do is I would go to the more section of the G1000 and I would select wind off, which is just winds aloft, and then I would select the altitude I'm at, and it would give me the reported winds aloft for that altitude. Another important thing to just take into consideration, I mean, all this technology is great. The G1000, it provides a wealth of information, but something I always saw neglected, and I still do today, and I'm partly responsible as well, is other pilots, PIREPs, ATC. I personally have made a vow to make more PIREPs in general aviation to kind of help with the problem that I see in it. So again, use all resources available to you. Again, technology is wonderful, it's great, it can certainly lessen the workload. I would like to personally imagine the same scenario without two pilots, with one pilot. With one pilot, it'd be a much more increased workload, but the G1000 would make it possible for them to check on the weather. And that would be all I have for today.